I started recording on the wrong mic settings by accident. And if I look a bit tired, it's because of the fact that I sobered up from having some alcohol from when I was playing Cards Against Humanity offline, which I'm not gonna lie, it was a good time. And the alcohol that I spent money on, I have. I'm just gonna pull it out of the mini fridge real quick. Right where the top of the liquid is, that's how much I have left. Which I'm saving the rest of this for my birthday. Alright, now I can sit comfortably, which I'm considering the idea of having some booze while I play Fall Guys for a community night later this month. Which, speaking of that, before I get into any details about the Spider Man No Way Home thoughts, wait, no, sorry, Brand New Day, if I will be streaming at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, August 18th, when the time comes. And why August 18th is because I think that would be a good day to celebrate my 22nd birthday when the time comes. Now, with that out of the way, my thoughts on Spider Man Brand New Day? It's up there with No Way Home on how good it is. Which I would say that it's this close. This close. And if you've seen the trailers before the movie went out, you would know that Punisher and Hulk is in the movie. And why I say Hulk is because of Mark Ruffalo, which there's been marketing that confirms that Spider-Man and Hulk had a fight, but as for the reason behind it, I will not say it. But I will say this much. The antagonist is someone who can control minds. That's why I say that. So, that's a hint that I can give without giving too much away. And the banter between Spider-Man and Punisher was honestly insane to see. And given the fact that it's the 2017 Punisher, that's insane to think about. And we also have the 2015 Daredevil in the Spider-Man universe as well. So, all right, hear me out in this case. Next Spider-Man movie that Sony does, have Punisher, Spider-Man, and Daredevil team up against the Sinister Seven and have Venom somewhere in the Sinister Seven. That shit would be sick to see. That idea aside, the way that they approached how MJ and Ned is portrayed in the story, given what happens in the end of but Spider Spider-Man No Way Home, which, long story short, everyone got their memories erased because of Doctor Strange 5 years ago, which, I'm not gonna lie, that is insane to think about. And what happens in the end with one of the two is wholesome. And as for the rest of what happens in the film, there were a lot of people who, like what I said, were mind controlled by the antagonist. Will I say which character? No. Will I say which actor? Also, no. You're on your own on figuring that out. But I'll say this much, the actor did really good with the role, and given the fact that we have two Spider-Man villains who had a cameo, which I will not say which ones, it feels good that some Spider-Man villains had some cameos. And as for the rest of the idea of the movie, it's honestly insane to think about it, given the fact that it's supposed to show the struggle between being Peter Parker versus being Spider-Man. And the secret identity thing has always been a thing for a while. Which, 4 years at that, given the fact that it takes place 4 years after the events of Spider Man No Way Home. And there was a 30-second clip that was shown on one of the news articles. I don't remember which one, but there was a 30-second clip to where we get to see some banter between Spider-Man and Punisher, which, to be honest, I thought that there was going to be a Spider-Man versus Punisher fight in the movie, which there was. At the same time, there wasn't, which it was somewhere in the first half an hour of the movie. I'll say this much. So, somewhere in the beginning, given the fact that the clip was shown before the movie came out, it's not a spoiler, but at the same time it is, which if it's spoiler, I apologize for that. And as for the rest of the film, it was honestly really good. But one thing that I do like about the theater that I went to, which is my local one, which I will not say the name of it for privacy reasons, you can go to any seats that you want, which I was originally going to be all the way in the back, but then I pretty much was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the front with my mom and stepdad, simply because of the fact that they were just right there. And then I just pretty much just said, you know what? Fuck it. I may as well. And we had hot dogs for lunch at the time we were watching the movie, which it was small, yes, but it's a better than nothing option given the fact that how small it was. Plus, I had Reese's as a snack, and I also had two drinks, which I had a Diet Coke and a sugar-free Red Bull, which I'm gonna be honest with you, the Red Bull did the job on keeping me energized, but it's not a good energy drink in my opinion. And these are not sponsored, by the way, just to clarify, but my go-to energy drinks is usually Celsius, Ghost Energy, Alani Nu, or C4. And back to talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day. There was speculation that Daredevil was going to be in the movie. Nope, he's not. And to no one's surprise, is Ned a weirdo? Which it was confirmed in the trailer that he was going to be a weirdo in the movie. Not in a creepy way, but just in a socially awkward weird, if that makes sense. And as for the rest of the details of the movie, it's a bit of a pain in the ass to talk about it without spoiling it. It is that good, but I will say this much. If you have not seen the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, do yourself a favor and watch the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies before you watch Brand New Day. And if you want to have a better understanding between the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, because of the fact that we've had all three of the Spider-Men in the No Way Home movie, you're gonna want to watch their movies before No Way Home to have a better understanding of the multiverse stuff, if you get what I'm trying to say. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I honestly thought that it was a really good start for the Marvel multiverse, but then there's been some up and downs since then, which it's good to see that they're starting to focus more on the quality than they are focusing on the quantity, because that was why that there's been hits and misses. Which, I'll say this much, I am excited for the new Avengers movie that's coming out later this year, Avengers Doomsday. And given the fact that I have seen all of the Avengers movies as well as all the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, I'm honestly curious on whether or not if we're going to see Spider-Man again in Avengers Doomsday. Punisher would be a surprise to see. Same case with Daredevil, or hell, even Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider would be fucking sick to see in Avengers Doomsday, or maybe even the next Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man versus Ghost Rider? If there was to be a misunderstanding, that shit would be awesome to see. And if you want to hear my spoiler thoughts on what I do want to say when it comes to talking spoilers for the new Spider-Man movie, it is going to be sometime next month, which for the time being, we only have episode 41, which we released yesterday at the time this video is out, which I'll leave a link in the description down below for those who wants to go check out that episode in question. And I will give the heads up ahead of time when we release episode 45 after it is recorded. There will be spoilers when we start recording spoiler free. When we start recording the podcast, which a good decision that we make is that we would give our audience a spoiler warning and we would have a stopwatch to keep track on how long we've been talking about spoilers for. It's just more so of, will Angel and aka Gabe the Dead Fish and John aka Blind Tech watch the new Spider-Man movie? That's the thing that I'm curious about. And as for Shane aka Shanimation, he's seen the movie because outside of being a content creator, he has a job in a movie theater. So it's safe to say that he has seen a good chunk of movies because of a potential employee discount. I'm not 100% sure if he does. And as for the idea of wanting to watch more movies later on down the line, that is a bridge that I can cross later. And as for how I feel about Spider-Man Brand New Day, like what I said, it's up there with No Way Home. Which I think No Way Home is better, but Brand New Day is still up there. And it felt good that we were able to see full on Hulk for the first time since the beginning of Avengers Infinity War. Which, if you remember the scene to where Hulk and Thanos were throwing hands, that was the last time that we saw full Hulk. And as for who we've seen for Hulk and Punisher, Spider-Man and Punisher butt heads at times. That's which I'm just going to keep it at that, because if I say any more than what I'm saying about them, I would be spoiling it. And as for Hulk as a character, Bruce Banner w- played a really good role in the story, but as for Hulk, he was done dirty. And I'm honestly pissed about it. Which I honestly feel like that Mark Ruffalo deserved better from Marvel Studios because I'm tired of seeing Hulk being done dirty. So that's my criticism that I have, but that was a good fight, which I will neither confirm nor deny who wins versus who loses because that would be a spoiler if I did. If you've seen it, if you know it, please do not spoil it for others. That is all that I will ask. Anyways, for my ratings on a scale of 1 to 10, Spider Man Brand New Day gets a 9.5 out of 10. Because if it wasn't for Hulk being done dirty, that would have been a 10. And as for star ratings, that's a 4.5 because of the fact that it's a 9.5 out of 10. That's why I say it's up there with No Way Home. And as for a rating, I'm gonna have to give it an 85%. And when it comes to other community events that I do plan on hosting, I am going to be hosting a Five Nights at Freddy's community. Well, blah, 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 let me rephrase. I'm going to be hosting a Five Nights at Freddy's movie night August 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because it is going to be both 1 and 2 if it is still on Peacock at the time, which I will definitely take a look before I go to sleep. And as for Fall Guys, like how I mentioned in the beginning, I will be hosting a Fall Guys game night August 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And when that time comes, if you want to say hi to me, you can either say hello, either on my main channel, Samaroni, or on twitch.tv/Samaroni_YT. If you are under the age of 18, please do not watch my streams. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I want to get out of the way. If there's any takes that you agree versus disagree with me on, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. And like what I ask, please do not talk about spoilers in the comments if you've seen the movie, because I want to be mindful about others. And I did give the heads up ahead of time that when we record All Things Nerdy episode 45 Sunday, which is technically later today because it's almost 12:30 in the morning at the time I'm recording this, but when it comes out next month, don't say you weren't warned when it releases later down the line. And as for the rest of my thoughts for Spider-Man Brand New Day, you were given the spoiler warning ahead of time, so when we get to that point, listen at your own peril because you have been warned ahead of time if you have not seen the movie. See you all around, and thank you for hearing me yapping.